Shalom, all praises to the Heavenly Father, Hatsun Apukhuya. Praise be to the earthly mother, the Pachamama, and all of her earthly angels, the Huaca. Praise be to the Holy Spirit, the Kahe, in the name of Hamashiach, Motsah the Lamb, unification to the nation. So guys, this video is long awaited. Now we have a lot to talk about today. And I'm gonna have to split this into different parts. I'm gonna put this all in the same video, but there's no way I can sit down and do this whole thing. So this is gonna be a long video, but this is gonna be very informational, because this is gonna be the information that I've been sitting on, and some of the stuff that the Most High has just pretty much put in my lap. Right? Again, this stuff, I make these parts part by part, meaning I give you as much information as I currently have at that certain part. I have theories, but I don't have enough to, give any solid conclusions. It's later on where I'm given this information. I'm just saying, for those who want to believe, information is not coming from me. So we're just going to start off with some pictures, and then we're going to get into the books and stuff like that, explaining some of this stuff. So this right here, these two images right here that you see on the left are both from the Etruscans, which are pretty much the first civilization of Italy. And they are whom the so-called Romans got many of their cultural influences from. And one of the trademark things about the quote-unquote Romans are, I don't know what they call them, but I guess these red, I don't even know what to call them, things that they have on their helmets, right? Now, when you look at the Etruscans, they have these same things. So that led people to believe that the Etruscans are actually the forefathers of the Roman civilization, since they were there before them and they're carrying many of their cultural markings. And you'll see either the helmet, it'll look like this, horizontally or vertically, right? Now, over here you have the Roman. As you can see, it looks really similar to the Etruscan ones. And then we get to the Edo state in Benin. And they have much, if not the exact same wear. Interesting. Then we go over here to the quote-unquote Kingdom of Judah that was on the west coast of Africa. And we're going to get through who they are and the pictures that they're associated with as well. As you can see here, this ruler is sporting something very similar to what both the Romans and the Etruscans are sporting, while highlighting that the prominent color that you will see among these people is the color red. Just pointing that out. So this is a Phrygian cap. This is something that supposedly is native to Anatolia, Greece, Turkey, that area. Now, this is something that was adopted by the so-called Greeks and Romans. Let me put this in full screen. So these are the Greeks right here. As you can see, this is a Phrygian cap. The Romans, they also adopted this. You'll see this all over the place. I'm not really sure where this comes from. But what I do know is that they were doing these things among Benin and at West Africa, the Yoruba, right? They were doing these same things. They had these same helmets and caps and things of that sort, which is rather interesting. Now, this is a Yoruba helmet. Also, looking pretty dang similar to the Roman helmets. Over here, these are two Benin or Edo state helmets. And these are also from the Yoruba and or the Edo state, where they also have Phrygian caps. Now, these are Phrygian soldiers, but they seem to have the Roman hats, which are kind of more similar to the Etruscans, as we just saw. And some people have postulated that the Etruscans originated in Turkey, right? Because that's the closest culture they have. And if that's the case, who did the people from Turkey, where did they come from? Who is this group of people? Where did they come from? Who came from Turkey? Where did they originate? And these are Romanized versions of the Phrygian hat. In late Republic Rome, a soft felt cap called the pileus served as a symbol of free men, or i.e. non-slaves, and was symbolically given to slaves upon manumission, thereby granting them not only their personal liberty, but also libertas. Sorry about that. Freedom as citizens, with the right to vote, if male. Following the assassination of Julius Caesar in 44 BC, Brutus and his co-conspirators instrumentalized the symbolism of the pileus to signify the end of Caesar's dictatorship and a return to the Roman Republic system. These Roman associations with the pileus and liberty and republicanism were carried forward to the 18th century until when the pileus was confused with the Phrygian cap, then becoming a symbol of those values. So they're saying that it got confused with it, right? Okay. Now, this is Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI. And I can only guess that he is the son of Charles V, which is the person who brutally colonized the Americas, particularly South America, but also did it to like the West Coast and Mexico and things of that sort, as he sent his goons, but he was more so concerned with South America for whatever strange reason. Now, I find it very interesting that this person from the kingdom of quote-unquote Judah on the west coast of Africa is dressed exactly like the son of Charles V and has a gun in his hand, which is what they did sell many of the slaves for. They sold them for wine and musket guns and things of that sort. So I find it interesting that he does have that in his hand, and he also is sporting the red, the prevalent crimson red. That's also pretty interesting. Now we have a lot to read here. So the Phrygian caps, they put them on the story of the three Hebrews, right? You guys remember the names? I forgot their names, bro. What are their names? I know the Babylonian names, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but I forgot their Hebrew names. Anyway, let's start from here. I know that we're reading backwards for whatever reason. I don't know. Let's start here. By extension, the Phrygian cap also came to be applied to several other non-Greek speaking peoples or barbarians in the classical sense. So it seems like this goes back before the quote-unquote Greeks, right? And I'm not even postulating that this goes to, you know, the Edomites and stuff like that. It could be something that was worn by the Phoenicians, which is what makes a little bit more sense. And the Phoenicians are not just one group of people, they're a multi-ethnic group of people. But after the children of Israel were taken down, it seems like these different groups have pretty much wiped the children of Israel out of existence, of being a part of these maritime groups of people that were known as the Phoenicians. That's just what it seems. But it seems like the Phrygian cap does not have its origins among these Greeks, that it's something that has its origin among quote unquote Hebrews. That's just what it seems like. I don't really know the origin of it, but I'm gonna keep highlighting it because this is something that's gonna come up time and time again. So just know that my theory is that it seems to be connected with the ancient Phoenicians. And I think I did a video a little bit on that, showing you like the similarities with the Phrygian caps and stuff like that, but I didn't have the same knowledge that I do on who some of those West African people are. Most notable in of these extended senses of Phrygian were the Trojans and other Western Anatolian peoples, who in Greek perception were synonymous with the Phrygians, and whose heroes, Paris, Angeus, Aeneas, and this person were all regularly depicted with a Phrygian cap. Other Greek earthenware of antiquity also depicts Amazons and so-called Scythian archers with Phrygian caps. Although these are military depictions, the headgear is distinguished from the Phrygian helmets by long ear flaps, and the figures are also identified as barbarians by their trousers. The headgear also appears in 2nd century BC Boeotian Tanagra figurines of effeminate Eros and other 1st century BC statuary of the Kaymunay in eastern Anatolia. Greek representation of Thracians or Thracians also regularly appear with Phrygian caps, most notably Bendes, the Thracian goddess of the moon and the hunt, and Ophiris, a legendary Thracian poet and musician. So what does all of this mean? The Phrygian cap is something that was very widespread. It was known among the so-called Amazonians, whomever they are supposed to be, right? And the so-called Scythians, who we've gone over, who are, partly of the children of Israel. But just like the Phoenicians, they're not just one group of people. It's a culture. Scythians are a culture. Phoenicians are a culture. The Scythians are a horseback riding culture. The Scythians are a maritime culture. The Phoenicians are a maritime culture. The Scythians are a horseback riding culture, right? The Phoenicians go around on ships trading their goods and making, money and stuff like that. Trading and things of that sort. The Scythians, they go around shooting bows and arrows, riding on horses, living like nomads. In Greek mythology, the Amazons are portrayed in a number of ancient epic poems and legends, such as the Labors of Hercules, the Argonautica, and the Iliad. They were a group of female warriors and hunters who matched men in physical agility and strength, in archery, riding skills, and the arts of combat. Their society was closed for men, and they only raised their daughters, either killing their sons or returning them to their fathers, with whom they would only socialize briefly in order to reproduce. Wow. That's actually disgusting. But now that we know the fact that Esau, he was the one who was in Italy first, right? He was dealing with the Greek closely because they were ruling over the Greeks, and then the Greeks started ruling over them. And that's how it went. So their legends and stuff are really heavily intertwined. So the Greeks having legends of the Amazonians, and them being quite similar to the Dahomey tribe, who is related to many of these quote-unquote slave kidnapping tribes on the west coast of Africa, with these different kingdoms on the west coast of Africa, and these different peoples in Africa in general who were capturing slaves and selling them and things of that sort, whose kingdoms are unknown, right? They weren't taken down. They were just pretty much just hidden. There was no genocide that happened among the kingdom like it did here. There was no genocide or anything like that. There was no war. There was no nothing. All they did was kept changing their names and kept hiding. And the Dahomey definitely are of the same group of people. And Dr. Tracy McCarthy, she did a pretty good video showing that Da is supposed to be that serpent god, right? that they worship. That's why they're called Dahomey. Or it could mean Dahomey. Edom homie. Home of Edom. Man. Because people said, oh, it's the home of Dan. Well, what if you put an E at the front? Whose home is it then? Oh, man. Early Christian art and continuing well into the Middle Ages built on the same Greco-Roman perceptions of pseudo-Zoroaster and his magi as experts in the arts of astrology and magic, and routinely depict these quote-unquote three wise men that follow a star with Phrygian cap. So there's something about this Phrygian cap that I don't know about. Are these supposed to depict people who are magicians? Because it did talk about the three Hebrews, right, who escaped the fiery furnace. Did they also use the elements? I don't know. That's for a different discussion, though. I just want to show that this Phrygian cap, this is something that seems to be a Hebrew custom. It seems to be something that's associated with the Hebrews because they called them barbarians. So this is not of the white races. This is not of them. Doesn't matter what depictions they show here of the so-called three wise men. No, there's something deeper that I'm not really sure what it is. But what I am trying to establish is a connection. Because as we can see, these are the same hats that are worn in Benin. But does that mean that they're Israelites? No, it means that they're associated with the Hebrews. But not all Hebrews are Israelites. So I do think that these people are Hebrews. But they're even Hebrew Canaanites because they have a Hebrew culture, not because they come from Abraham. They're Hebrew Cushites because they have a similar culture to the Hebrews. And they're listed as Hebrews. Now this is a Yoruba god. Also with the same strange helmet that is very eerily similar to the Romans. But hold on. Because this is one of the oldest statues that they have of the Etruscans. And they have the same thing. And the same thing here. That also kind of looks like a Phrygian hat, or really a Phrygian helmet here. What does this all mean? What does it all mean? The very first people, the Etruscans, are where the Greeks and Romans, whomever they were, got this from. The kingdom of Loango. This is a depiction of someone from Dahomey, and this is a so-called Roman. Now you can tell me, what's the difference here? Well, the helmet's a bit different, but it's not so different here. This is using feathers and stuff, but it's still red. Why? Why are they using this red hair or mane or something? What does this remind you of? Wait, hold on. What is that? What is that? What is that? Hold on. Let's look at that. What is that? Is that a rooster? Or some sort of animal? What the heck is that? What is it? But what we're seeing here is the origin of where this stuff comes from. Where does this stuff come from? Where did the Etruscans get it from? Where did they get it from? This is what you're looking as the originals. Kingdom of Loango. Kingdom of Dahomey. All dressing in red. Kingdom of quote-unquote Judah. All dressing in red. Romans. All dressing in red. Kingdom of Congo, Kingdom of Benin. This is really Judah, but I put Benin so people know what I'm talking about. Kingdom of Guinea, and Kingdom of Congo. Now, my question is, why the heck, for one, why does he have an Inca crown with the 3 feathers? Why? And why did I see the Holy Roman Emperors also dressed this way? What the hell? I'll show you it later. And they all have a common color. They all have a common color. And that color is red, my friends. It is red. Why are they dressed in red? Why is he dressed like a straight up Roman with Roman sandals? Why? These kingdoms of West Africa and Central Africa, why are they dressed like Romans? Why are they dressed like Romans? With a Christian cross. Who colonized us, bro? Who colonized us? Why are they dressed this way? Queen of Congo. Congolese ruler. Why are they all dressed in red? It doesn't make any sense. And that's when we get to this. Because this is where it comes from. This thing that they have on their heads are supposed to mimic a cockerel or a rooster. That's why it's red. Particularly, that's why it's usually not in other colors. Sometimes it is, but usually it's not. That's where they get it from. So, let me give this a pause and I'm going to come back at you guys. Okay, so before I forget, I want to show you guys this real quick. These are, I guess, black European emperors and rulers. These are on the coat of arms and things of that sort. And they also have a crown that is very similar to the Incan crown with the 3 feathers. Right? I don't know if this is Germany or I forgot what country this is. But that's what I wanted to show you real quick. Okay, so one more thing. Not one more thing, but another thing. This is Gali. It says, A. Gallus was a eunuch priest of the Phrygian goddess Cybele, Magna Mater in Rome, and her consort Attis, whose worship was incorporated into the state religious practices of ancient Rome, quote unquote ancient Rome. Now, we've gone over what what Rome really was. Rome was just an amalgamation of different cultures that was around during a certain time period. But it was not an empire. It was almost like that was just like a place that, that this group of people went to. But who were these group of people? Gali is also associated with the Gauls, right? The Gaulish peoples. And we went over, I think, was it last part? It probably was it last part? No, it was a part before this last part that, what was I going to say? That the Phoenicians, no, we didn't go over that. I'm sorry. I didn't go over it. But just so I could say it, and maybe we'll get to it in this part or later parts. The Phoenicians, they have their origins in Ireland, right? They have their origins in Ireland and Western Europe and things of that sort. That's at least what they say. What the Phoenicians they know from, like Carthage and things of that sort, they have their origins in Western Europe, but particularly in Ireland. And this is where you see many of these, Phrygian caps associated with the Gaulish peoples and things of that sort. So I don't know what any of this stuff means. You can get my best guess. My best guess is that these are a group of Hebrews, because ancient West Europe was associated with the Hebrews. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're associated with the Israelites, because there are different sorts of Hebrews. It's just very interesting. Really interesting. I don't know if this has to do anything with the red fez hat as well. I don't know. I don't know. But I will have to come back to this because there's just a lot of things going on here, right? There's a lot of things going on here, so we'll have to revisit this. I'm just um putting a spotlight on this again. Okay, so I wanted to add something more because as I was looking through this, now this gets a little bit more interesting, and it's helping me piece things together a little bit more. So let me read this. Dionysius of Halicarnassus claimed that Roman citizens did not participate in the rituals of the cult of Magna Mater, which is called Galli. Literary sources call the Galli half men, leading scholars to conclude that Roman men looked down upon the Galli, or the Gauls. But Roman disapproval of the foreign cult may be more of invention of modern scholars than a social reality in Rome, as archaeologists have found votive statues of Attis on the Palatine Hill, meaning Roman citizens participated on some level of reverence of Magna Mater and her consort. So I'm not really sure. Like this stuff, it gives me more questions than answers regarding who these Roman people were. Right? Now there's one more thing I want to read here that I didn't read before. So hold your like grab onto something, bro. Stephanus Byzantinus said the name came from King Gallus, while Ovid said it derived from the Gallus River in Phrygia. The same word, Gallus, singular, or Galli, plural, was used by the Romans to refer to Celts and to roosters. And the latter especially was a source of puns. Roosters. So, Galli was a rooster, and it was something that these Phrygians worshipped. The goddess Galli was associated with roosters, and it's something that they worshipped, these quote-unquote Phrygian peoples. Are you guys catching my drift? Are you guys understanding what I'm saying, man? Let's go back to that picture. Are you guys understanding what I'm saying? We'll get to it in a second. I'll take a little break. But they worship the rooster in Benin. They worship the rooster in Rome. These Anatolian peoples or Etruscan peoples, are they one and the same? I don't know. But they got the rooster on deck. Why? Was used by the Romans to refer to Celts and to roosters. Why did they refer to Celts as this? I don't like, it's just more questions than answers. I can't answer all these questions in this video. I can only talk about the things that I've been revealed. But one of the things is this roosters thing. What is this rooster? Why does this rooster keep coming up? Why are they worshiping roosters? Why are they dressing like roosters? Where is it coming from? What is the source? What is the origin of this rooster or chicken worship? What does that have to do with the Ifa religions, the voodoo religions, the Yoruba religions, the Yoruba people, the Canaanites? What does it have to do with them? I'll hit you back in a second. Okay, so continuing our discussion on the ancient rooster, the Gaelic rooster. I didn't even look into this stuff until just now because I didn't even catch that part about the rooster. So, hey, we're going to keep going. We're going to keep riding. The Gaelic rooster is an official national symbol of France as a nation, as opposed to Marianne, representing France as a state and its values, the republic. The rooster is also the symbol of Wallonia. region and the French community of Belgium. During the times of ancient Rome, um, this person noticed that in Latin, rooster or gallus and gallus were homonyms. So as that's what we just read, right? However, the association with the Gaelic rooster as a national symbol is apocryphal, as the rooster was neither regarded as a national personification nor as a sacred animal by the Gauls in their mythology, and because there was no Gaelic nation at the time, but a loose confederation of Gaelic nations instead. So the Gaulish peoples are the same thing, or like it's the same thing regarding the Gauls, the Scythians, the Phoenicians. They're not just one people, but they're a group of people who, are similar. And all these different descriptions, they sound like they're Hebrews or associated with Hebrews. They sound similar, right? That's why, that book in the New Testament was written to the Galatians, because there were Israelites there in that area. And as I just said, that there were different, loose confederations of Gaelic nations. But there's no unified Gaelic nations because they're not all one people. But a closer review within that religious scheme indicates that Mercury was often portrayed with the cockerel, a sacred animal among the continental Celts. Interesting. That was a sacred animal for them. Why? That's just the question, bro. Why? Why are all these cultures that are associated with the Romans, why are they worshiping the cockerel or the rooster, or the chicken or whatever? Why? Let's get to that. Identified some gods worshipped in Gaul by using the names of their nearest Roman god rather than their Gaulish name, with Caesar saying Mercury was the god most revered in Gaul. The Irish god Lugh, identified as, I can't say that, led to the widespread identification of Caesar's Mercury as Lugus, and thus also to the sacred cockerel, the Gaelic rooster, as an emblem of France. So that is very, very interesting as to why the rooster is their sacred animal, but no one knows why. They're thinking that, it must be like a religious thing because of the cock crowed thrice and the story of, the Messiah's so-called crucifixion. But that's not, you don't know where it's from. We don't know. Could the worship of the rooster be much more ancient? Could it have come from somewhere else? Okay, so now we're going to read a few articles, so turn back on the music so it doesn't get too boring. Through Celts and Romans, technology and symbolism of bronze, enameled, roosters. One of the most interesting groups of Rome bronze metalwork spans the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD. It comprises about 10 enameled statuettes portraying roosters, possibly standing on bases. Their uh, provenance is attested at sites of the Western Empire, possibly connected with Celtic art. The roosters are portrayed in attack position, with the beak open and the crest up. Their chests are decorated with triangles or lozenges of multicolored champlevi emblems. Wait, enamels, excuse me, I'm tripping. And they have detachable backs. The recent find of a similar item, complete with its tail, has brought renewed attention to these objects, but they are still rarely published or are mentioned only in old scholarship. There are still open questions about them, such as how they were made and why, with such an elegant and precious technique. Furthermore, there are debatable aspects of both the metalworking and the shapes of these objects, which are probably connected with the Celts, as well as problems related to I don't know what these words are, and workshops. Finally, it would be interesting to know more about their function, whether as lamps, containers, or simple decorative statuettes. So as you can see, the rooster is something that's very important to these, at least some of these Celtic peoples, some of these Gaulish peoples, some of these Roman peoples. But the question is why? So we're going to keep finding these similarities between the rooster and the Celtics and Romans. Because maybe it was the Romans, when they conquered Gaul, that they brought this rooster stuff there. Could it be that? The symbology characterizing the Roman world, as much as its artistic production, often manifests a beautiful synchronism. There are many cases in which a theme, a figure, or a meaning is rearranged and presented in a different way, and it is possible to see that their roots are planted far away. From this point of view, the Celts were very important because their myths, rites, and interpretations influenced Rome ones over a long span of time. If we add that technique and technology used for the objects under discussion are originally Celtic, the bond between these two cultures will become clearer, as well as will the artistic depth that the Romans owed to the Celts. The purpose of this paper is to describe in detail a group of bronze enameled roosters, fascinating objects related to one larger group of enameled vessels, trying to understand their background, technology, age, and function. I don't think we're going to read this whole article because this is pretty damn long, but we'll go through it. In Greek and Roman worlds, the figure of the rooster was frequently associated with gods such as Asclepius, Minerva, and Mars, and represented different aspects of their personalities or spheres of influence, such as healing, readiness, and pugnacity. Nevertheless, the god most often portrayed with a rooster is Mercury, a central character in trade and communication. What? Trade and communication. Does that not sound like the Phoenicians? Trade and communication. He was not only the divine messenger, but also represented the means and ways of communication. Mercury was the connection between different levels of existence, as they were understood at the time: divine, mortal, and afterlife. In other words, he was an entity at the limits in every sense. No one was more suited to this role. He was born at dawn, between night and day. He was a thief and a gambler, but also a merchant and a gifted musician. Excess and moderation in a single god. Probably for these reasons, he was also chaperone of souls, the chaperone of souls, and the rooster is one of his totemic animals. His totemic animals. It is fierce and smart, and above all, it too knows the borderlines because it announces the sun, the rising sun, with its voice, obliterating darkness. 1 second, guys. I want to get this down in my head. I want to write it down before I forget. Okay, we're back, guys. I really had to get this down, and I did not want to forget. So, the rooster. 18th century, they don't know. Edo peoples. Brass roosters are placed on ancestral altars commemorating the queen mothers of Benin. They stand for fowl and other animals that are sacrificed during rituals honoring royal ancestors. These explicitly male creatures acknowledge that the queen mother is different from other women and shares many powers and privileges with men. In depicting these birds, Benin brass casters indulge their love of dense overall patterns. Although stylized, these incensed designs definitely suggest the rooster's showy plumage, scaly legs, and dimpled comb. So I wanted to share that real quick. We'll get back to it. Okay, so we have another one here. Brass rooster, Dogon or Mali. A magnificent large Dogon fowl in bronze, early to mid 20th century. Again, they don't really know, but whatever. The fetish figure of a bird is believed to symbolize the Hogon, or spiritual leader. Spiritual leader, interesting. This figure of a fowl, early to mid 20th century, is made by the Dogon tribe from Mali using the old lost wax method and is in excellent condition. The fetish figure is a bird is believed to symbolize the Hogon, or spiritual leader. It is believed by some Hogons to ride these large birds as part of their instating rituals. Animal figures are placed at family altars dedicated to the founding ancestors and totemic animals. Wow. So why do they have all of these damn roosters on the west coast of Africa that they're using as their totemic animals, that they're using to signify some sort of a, spiritual leadership? Why? Now let's get to this. The Yoruba of West Africa, Benin, Nigeria, and Togo, with migrant communities in part of Ghana and Sierra Leone, are responsible for one of the finest artistic traditions in Africa, a tradition that remains vital and influential today. The arts of the Yoruba are as numerous as their deities, and many objects are placed on shrines to honor their gods and the ancestors. Much of the art of the Yoruba, including staffs, court dress, and beadwork for crowns, is associated with the royal counts. Yoruban blacksmiths create sculpture from iron through hand beating, welding, and casting, with Ogun being honored as the god of iron. That literally sounds like Nephilim. What in the world? The god of iron? Really? That's a righteous thing? That's a righteous thing? That's literally them honoring the Decadarshui. This is a religion of honoring the Decadarshui. Metalworkers are created brass sculptures by lost wax casting. Brass is seen being incorruptible by the Ogboni society. Beautiful sculpture abounds in wood and brass, and the occasional terracotta. The custom of art and artists among the Yoruba is deeply rooted in the Ifa literary corpus, indicating the Orishas Ogun, Obalta, Oshun, and Abulu Fawn as central to creation mythology, including artistry, the art of humanity. So, there you go. There you go. The Yoruba are the main ones who perpetuate a lot of these different cultures. In fact, many of these different cultures came from there. In West Africa, of course. Like, we're not talking about anywhere else, because we know that, so-called Africans, they didn't do anything, they didn't go anywhere, right? Yoruba, the name doesn't mean anything. It's not like Europe was not first inhabited by Yoruba people, right? No, not at all. Anyway, one second. So continuing this article, Greeks and Romans were not the only ones to think this way. Caesar asserts with no doubt the supremacy of the god in Gaul. He says, among the gods, they worship Mercury above all, and he is the one with the most numerous representations. Lucan, on the other hand, presents three strong, cruel Celtic gods: Tyrannus, Esus, and Teutatis, the latter two of which, according to their attributes, could have been Mercury. Tyrannus is recognized as Jupiter. The matter of their identification with Mars, Mercury, or simple local gods is still open, and scholars are trying to determine the truth, but it's difficult because attributes blur one into the other. Dialects vary, I'm thinking about a lot of stuff. And there is no definite archaeological evidence. Nevertheless, in Gaul, Germany, and Britain, there are materials such as statues, bronze, and inscriptions that demonstrate the peculiar devotion to this god, and commemorates and craftsmanship, and that witness the bond between him and the rooster. Among them are a bronze statuette found in a deposit at Dax in the south of France, portraying the god with a rooster and a goat at its feet. Excuse me. A stone altar from Hoorn, the Netherlands, with a relief decoration of a rooster on top of a caduceus, and a silver handle on a pan from Phaeton, England, with Mercury sitting under a pavilion and holding a bag, while a small rooster stands next to him. Finally, it's very important to note findings of chicken bones. A clear example is a grave in the cemetery of Tartigny. Found among the grave goods accompanying someone believed to be an official are about 20 vases, in one of which were found the bones of a chicken and a goose, and their wings and claws cut at the tips. Other cases are the sanctuary of Mercury at Ule, Golsensteier. I don't know. Where scholars have found a large quantity of bones from goats and roosters. So they really seem to have been sacrificing these different chickens and roosters and goats and stuff like that. Which sounds like a bunch of damn Ifa witchcraft or things of that sort that are associated. Now these are different artifacts. This is what they look like. Now, it really does seem like these people hold the rooster in a really high regard. It's really, really bizarre. Now, let's read this real quick because this was very good. Triomancy and the sacred rooster. Since iniquity, the rooster has been and still is a sacred animal in some cultures and deeply embedded within various religious belief systems and religious worship. In ancient Babylon, the rooster was considered the bird form of the true shepherd of Anu and was considered the ordained herald of the gods. The Nergal. So we're going to listen. Ancient Babylon. Where is Babylon? Where is Babylon? Where was Babylon? What is the Niger River? Why was it called the Euphrates? The Niger River attached to the Amazon River in ancient times. So wouldn't that make that the Euphrates? Because the Amazon is the Euphrates. Wouldn't the Niger River then be the Euphrates? And who dwelt along the Euphrates? Was it not Babylon? Was it not the Babylonians? Yes, it was. The Neo-Babylonians. They dwelt along the Euphrates River, did they not? Yes, they did. Babylon was known in Daniel for what? The gold. Well, what is ancient Ghana known for? The ancient Mali Empire, Mansa Musa and all them. Are you really looking at Babylonians? I just showed you in Mali that for the Dogon, like they're all about the rooster. Nergal, a deity whose name meant dunghill cock or fighting cock, was worshipped by the Assyrians, Babylonians, Phoenicians, and Persians. The term Persian bird was given to the cock by the Greeks after Persian contact because of his great importance and his religious use among the Persians. This stems from the sacred nature of the cock, attested to the text of Zoroastrianism during the legendary Kaymunay period from about 2000 BCE to 700 BCE. Perhaps because of their ancient association as a divine messenger, roosters played an important role in both Etruscan and Roman religion. Both Etruscan and Roman religion. Observing a rooster's willingness to eat grain kernels as a means to divine the omens for battle, marriage, and some other important action is known as electriomancy. Was frequently practiced. The Etruscans established an elaborate ritual of electriomancy, using a hen to find answers for life's most pressing problems. Oh man. Wait until I show you the next one that we're going to read. The process involved a circle, which was divided into 20 parts to represent the Etruscan alphabet, and each sector was sprinkled with corn. Listen, this stuff is important, guys. They used the rooster to find life's most pressing problems, and they sprinkled each alphabet with corn. Corn is something that was used along with the rooster as some sort of ritual of some sort. Let's continue. This bird is placed in the middle, and the sequence of its beaking was recorded. Roman rituals, building upon the practices of the Etruscans, were conducted with such an extraordinary level of organization that they are considered unparalleled among ancient civilizations. A rare form of electriomancy practiced by the Romans included divination by a cock stone, a crystal-colored stone found in a rooster's crop, that was considered to have magical powers. The cockerel was already symbolic importance in Gaul at the time of the invasion of Julius Caesar, and was associated with the god Lugus, a Celtic deity, who the Romans believed to be equivalent to Mercury. Of the 6 Celtic gods identified by Caesar as those worshipped in Gaul, Caesar thought Lugus was most revered, describing him as patron in trade and commerce, protector of travelers, and the inventor of all the arts. Lugus, or Mercury's importance, is supported by more than 400 inscriptions referencing him in Roman Gaul and Britain. However, unlike the Roman Mercury, who is typically a youth, Gaulish Mercury is associationally also represented as an old man. Close-up of Roman's opus for Vermiculetum mosaic depicting 2 cocks who confront each other in combat before a table displaying the winner's prizes. The purse, a money bag, flanked by the caduceus and a palm of victory at Naples, courtesy of Curro da Radido. I don't know, bro. I'm having difficulty. Let me slow down a little bit. But this reminds me of what they were doing in so-called slavery with the, with the cock fights and stuff like that. I don't know, stuff like that, it has to be revisited, right? Because I don't know who they're talking about, right? I don't know. I don't know who they're talking about. A mosaic of a slave with 2 roosters from Pompeii. With a slave. Mosaic of a cockfight from Pompeii. Now, this stuff, Pompeii is not something that was ancient. I shared that dude's video. This stuff is recent. If it did happen, it's recent. It's not ancient. Children watching a cockfight. Greek Amisos, Asia Minor. 2nd century, 1st century BCE. Terracotta. Really, really interesting. I'll get back at you guys. Now, the creation of the world according to the Yorubas. A statue of Oduduwa and an image showing how he created the world. Oduduwa, the father of all Yorubas, was the favorite deity of Olodumare. Olodumare is the supreme being in the Yoruba culture. According to sources, Oduduwa was given the task of creating the world after Abatala, who was previously given the task, got drunk from palm wine. Let me skip down because I want to get to the rooster part. Oduduwa sought the great diviner, who is Orunmila, who is also known as Ifa. Orunmila told Oduduwa that he should take a snail shell filled with sand, a rooster, and a golden chain. Oduduwa used the chain to climb from the heavens down to the earth where all was water. He then took the sand-filled snail shell and he poured it into the water. He then took the rooster and put it on the sand. The rooster started spreading the sand by walking all over the place, and that is how the earth was made. So this is where it comes from, bro. This is where it comes from. All that rooster worship, it comes from the Yorubas. The Yoruba are one of the oldest people in the whole world. Because it's funny because they'll say that, oh, like they're so recent, but they'll talk about how the chromosomal atom, or some of the oldest DNA in the world, is located in West Africa. And it is. I've been going over that, the ghost DNA. These people created the so-called white man. They created the Nephilim. They created it. They created the Nephilim, bro. They created it. They are responsible. This is who they are, bro. Oh, man. They get this rooster from the Yoruba. The Etruscans, the Romans. Well, the Romans got it from the Etruscans, right? They're saying that the Etruscans got it from the Phrygians, right? But there, like, people have seen connections between Anatolia and the Yoruba, and they don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. So that's why I'm not even touching on it. I'm just saying it, and you guys can do your own research on that aspect. But now we have to find out what is the connection between the Yoruba and the Etruscans. And North Africa, the Carthage, and how does this stuff all connect? Little did I know the Yoruba were truly the center point of all of this. They are the center culture. They are. They are the masterminds behind all of this. Osun, which is one of their, what do they call it? Orishas, is recognizable in a Santuro's house because he takes the form of a white metal rooster perched on a cup that sits on a tall pedestal. Sometimes there are small metal charms hanging from the lid of the cup. So they specifically use metallurgy. They specifically use that. Why? Because they're worshiping fallen angels. They're worshiping the Decadarshua. So they have to use certain metals so the spirit can dwell in it. That's what they do. Ogun gave him a pile of corn. Sure enough, Osun ate so much corn that he fell asleep. So corn is also another element that is used in tandem with this rooster god figure. So now we have to dig into, well, how do the Yoruba connect with the Etruscans? How? The Yoruba not only connect with the Etruscans, as we're going to go over in a second, but they also connect with the Latins. They also connect with Carthage. So, we'll come back. Okay, so, hold up. Okay, so continuing our discussion, let's change some pace real quick. Let's go back to looking at some of those pictures. So, right here, I have an article talking about the Kingdom of Congo. Now, I don't know where I could find this because I was looking for it, but I've heard many people tell me or try to tell me that, you know, this Kingdom of Congo, they colonized the Americas in the 1300s, right? Way before Columbus got there and stuff like that. And I'm like, you colonizing the Americas just means that you colonized us. So who are you? So you're not gonna ask these questions back then because I did not imagine that Esau could actually be in the continent of Africa. And just because people speak a dialect of Hebrew does not mean that they're Israelites. It means that they're Hebrews. That's why I said not all the Bantu are Israelites. It seems like they're Hebrews, but it does not seem like they're all Israelites. That's not necessarily the same thing. So let's look into some of this history of this Kingdom of Congo. The King of Congo was baptized in 1491. by the Portuguese, who gave him the name of their king, João. Under his successor, Alfonso, Christianity spread even further throughout the kingdom. However, instead of becoming a religion of the masses, it was adopted by a small ruling elite who made it a royal cult, reinforcing their political authority. One of Alfonso's sons was eventually ordained a bishop as early as 1518, the first black bishop ever. So while we were getting brutally colonized, the amount of death and killing that was happening to the Maya, to the Inca, to the Aztec, and all the rest of these different Indian tribes that were scattered about, how they were obliterating us. You mean to tell me that these people who the Portuguese, so on one side of the ocean, they're making amends with these people, they're giving them the Christian blessings, right? They're not taking over their empire. No, they're saying, hey, let's rule together. They're acting like buddies, chummy old boys. And on the other side of the Atlantic, it's give me your ish. Let me rape all your women. Let me mark you with a V so that you know who's your daddy, who's both of our daddies. Charles V. Did they mark any of them with any V's or anything like that? Nah. They didn't displace the royal elite. They worked with them. Did they displace Montezuma? Oh, yes, they did. So, hey, we can find out who's who by how history went, particularly around these papal bulls that was occurring. These papal bulls, they issued our arrest. It did not seem to issue the arrest of them. Why? As we just went over, the rooster was something that was prevalent in this expanding Roman, Celtic, Gaulish empire. I'm only using all those terms in one because it's hard to say which had what culture. It's hard to say. Did the so-called Romans bring that and they think that it's the Celts? Did the Celts bring that and the Celts are more than just, a homogenous group of people, that they're multiple groups of people? It's hard to say, but what we do know is that these Europeans and these West Africans are connected by the same religion of the rooster being this divine divinator, worshiping the rooster, sacrificing the rooster. These cultures are definitely connected, and we're going to get more into it. It's not just going to be lip service because I'm not the one saying it. I'm only making this video because I came across multiple people who have connected the Etruscans to the Yoruba. But we're going to get to it. It's a long video, I know. We're going to get to it. A Capuchin missionary and his entourage being greeted in front of village Songno, Kingdom of Congo, 1740s, Paola and Kolo and Sylvia Benso, Songno, Bampa, Penba, Ovando, those different places, right? The missionaries, who were mainly Jesuits and Capucins, the traders and officials, left behind a vivid depiction or description of the development of the kingdom, which permitted a detailed reconstruction of the daily lives of its inhabitants at a time when their civilization was at its peak. Their highly centralized political structure allowed them to rule over an area of 150,000 kilometers, almost the size of Uganda, stretching south of the Zaire estuary. And we've already looked up what this word, what is Zaire? What is Zaire? In fact, let's get that real quick. Oh, my bad. Means narrow place, a topological name derived from this to be narrow. It is mentioned only in 2 Kings chapter 8 verse 21 as the scene of the battle between Judah and its rebellious subject Edom. So the children of Judah had the children of Edom under subject at some point, which they did. That is true. So let's go back to this. And that place was called Zaire. So I don't know. If they're subjecting Edom in their land and Edom's land, then I can only imagine. I can only imagine. They acquired a mastery of metallurgy. Metallurgy, we see that metallurgy again, huh? Law and weaving textiles. The art of the Congo remains even today one of the most elaborate in Africa, making use of wood, cloth, terracotta, and even stones. Congo not only survived contact with the Portuguese, but continued expansion and development into a centralized state until the start of the civil wars in the late 17th century. It seems like all of these different African kingdoms, they were going long and strong for a while during the colonization of the Israelites, and then that's when it was time to rebrand. Something happened in the 1800s where all these different black people that they rebranded themselves and they hid. They did something. Something really strange happened, and I don't know what it is. Where I don't know. It's so strange. It's really weird. The memory of this magnificent kingdom, which proclaimed very early the achievements of black men, is still present in the minds of many intellectuals and leaders of Africa today. Now, here's what I wanted to get to. This is a depiction by the Portuguese of Luango. Now, what color are they wearing? Dressing just like those depictions that I showed you, right? Red seems to be a very prevalent color. A very, very prevalent color. Got these these hats, or I don't know what they are, bro. But what I do know is red is a very prevalent color in this kingdom of Congo. So you think you know who Edom is, huh? Anyway, we'll switch gears again. So this is a close-up on the helmet, that Yoruba helmet that I was showing you earlier. Oh, man. I don't know, man. I don't know what convincing is going to take at this point. Maybe it just won't. Anyway. Okay, and we're back. Let me see. Okay, so Ijebale, I think that's how you say it. The power of the blood in Ifa African spiritual technology. Oh, well, isn't that an interesting title? Perhaps the most controversial aspect to Ifa Orisa spiritual tradition is the practice of animal sacrifice. Some may see it as primitive, cruel, and macabre. I don't know what that is. But actually, hold up. Let me skip this damn ad. Perhaps the most controversial aspect to Ifa Orisa spiritual tradition is the practice of animal sacrifice. Some may see it as primitive, cruel, and macabre. Yet the spiritual, oh, I'm tripping. Yet the truth is, animal sacrifice is practiced by most cultures in the world. Well, yeah, that is true, but there are two ways how to do animal sacrifice, as we went over yesterday. We don't need to do animal sacrifice because the point of animal sacrifice was to pave the way for the Messiah to be the last one, as we went over in the video yesterday. But anyway, if a culture sheds the blood, I think it meant of an animal for food or any type of product, then it practices animal sacrifice. That's an interesting point. If you partake in any of the food or products of that animal, you are inadvertently participating in animal sacrifice. However, this post is not about animal sacrifice, but about the blood and significant power in African spiritual technology. So, they try to disarm you with, well, everyone does it. Anyway, let me show you what this is for. And they call it spiritual technology. Okay. In the human body, blood called Iji in Yoruba is a substance which is created in the bone marrow, infused with oxygen in the lungs and pumped throughout the body through the heart. As the Orisha Ogun is the provider of the skeleton of the human body, Ogun is directly connected with the blood of all human beings uh, viscerally. In fact, the main source of iron, Ogun's energy, you see, they worship these fallen entities, in the body is found in the blood in the form of hemoglobin. It is iron, or the oxidization of iron in the body, in the blood, which actually gives it its red color. It's the same phenomena which causes iron to rust in the presence of oxygen over time. The main purpose of blood in the body is to transport nutrients and oxygen to the cells and organs. Blood is also the partial carrier of the imi, or spirit, which was first provided to human beings by Olodumare. Imi is associated with... Whoops. Hold up. Alright, we're back. Sorry, I had to help out with something. Okay, I can't remember where I was. But let's start here. Now, the blood, as the carrier of the nutrients and energy, serves as a battery for the organs, which is why in the body, the heart pumps the blood around the body through the blood vessels and then find outlet at the organs, where the blood literally bathes the organs while the organ soaks up the nutrients from the blood. This is just a lot of explaining, because I guess they're trying to I don't even know what they're trying to do, bro. 1 second, guys, 1 second. Okay, I'm back. So yeah, this article is really trying to clean up blood sacrifice and stuff like that. Anyway, why do we feed the Orisha icons blood? It is because of the spiritual technology at work. We're not feeding the Orisha per se. Orishas are not blood drinkers. When they walked the earth, they did not drink blood. They ate food made from vegetables and animal flesh like other human beings. Well, they were Nephilim. Well, that's why. But anyway, we've already gone over why they demand blood and stuff like that. These are fallen watchers, right? This is actually a very, very wicked religion. This is incredibly wicked. But that's not the point. The point is that certain laws were given to us, and that's how I know that these people, they're not the children of Israel, because the Yoruba are a very old culture, meaning there is no older people really than the Yoruba. Like, everything kind of centers back to them. So it's not like something like you see in, like, let's say the Maori, right? They tattoo themselves and stuff like that, but they're not that old. Other people have been doing that before them, so you can say, okay, well, they probably got that from somewhere else. But the Yoruba are pretty much the grandmasters at this. So where did the Yoruba get this from? They didn't, because they created this thing. They created this religion. They are the creators. They are the progenitors of it. So you can't possibly tell me that these people are the children of Israel. No. It sounds like they are the biblical Canaanites. That's what it sounds like. Which makes a hell of a lot more sense. Now, when we look at these different carvings and, whatever you call them, busts, I guess, right? These are from the Yoruba or West Africa, around that general area. And you can see the different scarification techniques that they employ upon themselves. As you can see, you can also see how they look. This is why I say to people, the Olmec are not my people. If they're your people, they're your people. But that's not how they look, bro. You can get upset. It is what it is, bro. They employ scarification techniques. They do not value their hair, right? Like the true people of quote unquote God do. right? They're supposed to take care of their hair. Like, come on, man. You're not supposed to line up your head. That's not something. See, this custom's not something that came from the Israelites. This is something that came from the Canaanites. See the scarification here. And on his eyebrows as well. None of this stuff comes from the children of Shem. None of it does. And this is why they come against the Bible so much, because it runs so contrary to their ancient ways. You know? It runs so contrary to their ancient ways. So 1 second. Okay, we're back. So let me read something to you guys. This is Leviticus chapter 19. Ye shall not eat anything with the blood, neither shall ye use enchantment, nor observe times. Now this is the scripture that people try to come against people who are talking about quote unquote magic. Oh, you cannot observe times, you can't use enchantments, you can't drink blood. This needs context. This needs context, because this is talking about a specific group of people. It's talking about doing their religion, because one, you can't use enchantments, you can't observe times with the demons unless, you can't really do it unless you're utilizing blood and stuff like that. Otherwise, it's not going to be very powerful. Now you can pray to demons and stuff like that, but the ultimate power, right, that the wicked use is blood. That's the element of wickedness that they use, and that will get you into a one-way ticket to hell, or Sheol, as the Book of Jubilees calls it. Right? This is talking about a specific group of people. This is talking about a specific religion. This is talking about worshiping the fallen angels. This does not mean that anyone who uses what people would consider as enchantment or observing times is wicked. This how I know it's BS, because why did it say that the tribe of Issachar, that was their gift that Moses gave them, that they'll be able to observe the time, like the stars and stuff like that. So obviously observing times is talking about using like tarot cards and crystal balls, using the fallen angels. That's what it's talking about. It's not talking about using it in general. It's not talking about using angels. It's not talking about using left hand side or right hand, whatever it is, good angels, or getting it from the Most High. That's not what it's talking about. And plus, we did not look at ourselves as enchanters or sorcerers. That is what the Catholic Church and those people put on us. They labeled everything as enchantment and witchcraft, and then they do the evil side on, like, behind the scenes. All I'm talking about is protecting yourself. And the reason why there's a great spirit out right now trying to employ people not to protect themselves is because Satan is using them, and he doesn't want us to protect ourselves. He doesn't want us to rise. He wants us to stay in his captivity. So of course people are going to come against it. Especially if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. Satan can easily use you. You're already forgiven because, I understand what the bigger picture is. And you're going to be embarrassed on your day of judgment when the Most High asks you, why did you come against this person when I sent them? Did you not recognize my spirit? I won't vouch against you. It's all good. Anyway, ye shall not round the corners of your heads, neither shalt thou mar the corners of your beard. Again, what is this? What is this? This custom did not come from us. People think this is a black custom. Yeah, it's a Canaanite custom. That's why I say, guys, I am not black. I am not black. The reason why we look like this is because we were birthed out of certain nations. That's why we look a certain way. That's just the truth. It's all about the truth. It's not about, what I want it to be. If you don't agree, you don't agree. I don't. It is what it is. But that's your opinion. This is mine. But anyway, ye shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any marks upon you. Marks for the dead. Well, let's see what that's talking about. Remember in Black Panther with Killmonger? And he used that to mark everyone who has died. This is what we're not supposed to do, because this is what the heathen do. It doesn't really matter if, you know, these people, right, who you consider as being black, and they've pretty much thrown all black people into one category and say that they're all oppressed, they're all this, they're all that, and now you think that only the Israelites are black because of all of this brainwashing that they've done. You know, a certain sect of the black people are the children of Israel. Now they're being inflated as if they're the only people, when that's definitely not the case. In fact, there are many quote-unquote black nations that had us in subjection, and the reason why they're going through hell is because you have to read the scriptures. The scriptures tells you all these nations would be pretty much, you know, turned into nothing after they were so great. That's why these Africans always talk about, you know, we were greatness, we were this, we were that, with no concept of the Most High. What does that tell? What does that tell you? They are these ancient nations. They are these ancient nations. These white people were slaves, bro. This whole time to them. It's only now, recently, that they've been able to rule. And they've done wickedly with it. But, you know, it is what it is. So let me see. So I'm gonna come back at you guys. Okay, and we're back. So, hey, thank you guys for sticking with me this far into the video. I know I'm kind of all over the place. It's kind of hard to present this information. You know, it is. I'm trying my absolute best. But we're going to switch gears and we're going to come back and circle back to the Etruscans. So I have a few articles on this, as I said earlier in the video. Rethinking Yoruba culture in the light of Yoruba origins. There are existing traditions which teach that the Yorubas and their culture originate independently, or from Egypt, or from Israel, or from Mecca, or even from Etruscan sources. What? Many scholars and contemporary Yorubas have accepted the Egyptian thesis for Yoruba origins as true because of their many aspects of culture of the ancient Egyptians that are similar to Yoruba culture. Now, when you have a people with all of these different origin theories, doesn't that mean that things came from there rather than everyone came to there? Because they're talking about all of these different origins of the Yoruba, but is it that all of these cultures have their origin in the Yoruba? Because that makes a little bit more sense. And there are even Israelite connections to the Yoruba, right? With the tribe of Ephraim. How they seem to have been, you know, mixing in with them. Which is probably what Hosea 7 was talking about how Ephraim would mingle his seed with the different nations. You think it's talking about white folks, and some of it is, but it's talking about Africans too. It's talking about that too. It's a coat of many colors. It's not just one color. It's not two colors. It's many colors. You feel me? The question arises, what are the cultural aspects that are similar or different between the Yorubas and the Egyptians, or the Israelites, or the Arabians, or the Etruscans? So that is the abstract of this article. Let's go to the Etruscan part. Langay also shares this sentiment when he notes that Yoruba culture might have been borrowed from the Sudanic states. Frobenius thinks that the Yoruba civilization is so unique that it makes little or no sense to say that their culture developed independently. That is why he thinks that the Yoruba culture is of Etruscan origin. Neanderthals are allegedly the originators of burial practices, yet their fossils and those of other early humans have not been found in either Egypt or Yoruba land. Wow. It thus suggests that early humans might not have lived in Yoruba land, and if they did, information about their occupation on Nigerian soil is scanty or unavailable, which is probably more likely the case. Because again, they find some of the oldest people living on the earth from West Africa. It can therefore be said that only modern humans first occupied Yoruba land. If this is the assumption, it therefore makes sense to say that Yoruba culture might have been developed or influenced through some unknown foreign sources and not through the theory of independent origin. So, who knows, right? Who knows? The theory of the Atlantic origin proposes that the Yoruba culture originated from Etruscan culture. The theory further teaches that Etruscan culture passed through the Straits of Gibraltar or the Pillar of Hercules and consecrated itself in North Africa somewhere around the region of the Atlas Mountains. Oh, are you talking about the region of Carthage? So there's your connection between the Etruscans, Yoruba, and North Africa. Because this article is pretty much saying that the Etruscans and the Yoruba both connected to North Africa. Like their meeting place was North Africa. Now, they don't know like who came from where, right? I don't even know who came from where. But what I am saying is that the North Africans or the Carthaginians, the Etruscans, and the Yoruba are all the same damn people because they're all related. They are the descendants or associates of Esau. That's at least what it seems like. As far as all these parts that I'm doing to this series, that is what everything is pointing towards. But we're going to get more. It is from the Atlas Mountain that culture is said to have traveled eastward along the west coast of Africa in a southerly direction until it reached Yoruba land. Frobenius gave several reasons for the connection of the Yoruba culture to that of the Etruscans, and he thinks that Etruscan culture passed through the Atlantic to Yoruba land, hence the name Atlantic. He says that these cultural practices are common between the Yorubas and Etruscans, and we're going to get to his original article as well. Now let's get to some of his theories. The color and form of bows and arrows used by the Yorubas, which are similar to those in Morocco. The drum shape and other articles peculiar to North Africa are not found in Sudan, but are found in Yoruba land. Wow. So that means that Edom, and this was part of my theory that Edom, it's not like a how should I say this? It's not like a clean cut land, right? It's not like it stretches from, north to south, right? It kind of has like bits and pieces here and there, right? It's like cities. Because Dinhaba or Carthage was a city. It wasn't necessarily a landmass. We have to also remember that. So you had Carthage on the top of Africa, and then below you had, the Sudanic peoples and Chadic peoples and, different peoples, right? And then underneath them on the coastline of West Africa, now you have the Yoruba people and the other West African cultures, right? Who seem to be related to the North African ones because a similar people are there. Interesting. Water storage construction systems. Frobenius thought that the style of houses constructed by the Yorubas was similar to the ones used by the Etruscans, Moroccans, and Algerians, whereby empuvanum are built in the center of the house while apartments and verandas are built in a rectangular form. 4. The North African handloom, unknown in Sudan, is found among Yoruba women. 5. The construction of their houses. Yorubas construct houses with ridge roofs that are similar to those in North Africa. 6. The existence of templum among both the Yorubas and North Africans, whereby houses are built around a temple or sacred building, and even in even in towns, houses were built around sacred buildings. Frobenius thinks that even the religion of Ili Ifi is based on templum idea. What? So even their religion is based on something in North Africa. Frobenius identifies Olokun, or Yoruba deity, as the equal of Poseidon's sea god, Etruscan deity, or the ram-headed deity simply because of Olokun's connection to the sea. However, Lucas believes that comparing Olokun and the Etruscan Poseidon sea god is inappropriate because the Etruscans regarded the Poseidon sea god alone as their major or sovereign deity, but the Yorubas regard Olokun as one of their gods, which exists fundamentally because of its relationship with other Yoruba deities. Well, it never said that it was going to be exactly the same. That doesn't necessarily make it inappropriate, but anyway, Lucas says that although Olokun means the owner of the sea, yet to him this idea is related to the ancient Egyptian deity known as Adumu or Edumu, meaning Lord of the Primordial Abyss. Lucas stressed that the cult of the ram-headed deity could have come by way of Egypt because ram-headed deities were also worshipped in Egypt. Lucas suggests that both the Egyptian and the Etruscan culture in North Africa believed in the existence of a sea god, but the Yoruba connection of Olokun to the sea correlates with the Egyptian culture than that of Etruscan culture. Frobenius says that the Ifa cult originated in North Africa and is practiced by the Yorubas as well. So when we read about in the book of Yahshua where it talks about how Hannibal, how he practiced sorcery or witchcraft, this is what it's talking about. It's talking about the Ifa religion. And I thought when I read it, I was like, bro, that sounds like he's practicing some sort of Yoruba religion or voodoo religion or something of the sort. And lo and behold, it seems like that's the case. But you can make your own decision. The Yorubas do practice the Ifa cult by celebrating and making sacrifices to a supreme spirit called Ifa, who is believed to bless people through mediums like the priests and diviners. Contrary to the exclusion of the Ifa cult from Egypt by Frobenius, Lucas notes that the Ifa cult is Egyptian in form and in name, and that the rituals behind the ram-headed cult in Egypt are almost the same as those in the Ifa cult. Lucas further noted that the Ifa cult was practiced among the Yorubas before they were influenced by Islam or by the Arabian culture. Lucas reiterated that the Ifa cult is not only practiced by the Yorubas alone, but also by other West African tribes, such as the Ibos and the Ikoi. The influences of Arabian culture on the practice of Ifa cult among the Yorubas made Parandir assume that the cult itself originated in Arabia and not in Egypt or Northeast Africa. Furthermore, Frobenius' findings in comparing certain articles and house forms between North Africa and the Yorubas are true. His observation of some cultural connections between the Yorubas, and some Etruscan cultures is also true, yet his conclusion raises certain questions. For example, these same Etruscan elements like the horn on the hood loom, arrow, ampulvium, templum, and other listed by Frobenius are also widely used in Egypt, but Frobenius did not explain how these elements found their way into Egypt. Lucas believes that the Etruscan culture did not originate in Egypt, but passed through Egypt and from there to Yoruba land. So they don't know where these things originated. They only know that there's a connection to them, right? This video is going on really long. I'm gonna end it soon, and we'll pick up next time. Lucas believes that the Etruscan culture did not originate in Egypt. We already read that. Lucas noted that Etruscan communities actually lived in ancient Egypt, where their Etruscan elements traveled to Yoruba land by way of the interior, that is, through the Sudan. So there's also a connection to the Sudan as well. This contradicts Frobenius' notion that Etruscan culture did not pass through the interior. Frobenius' exclusion of the Sudan is a possible route for the transfer of Etruscan culture to Yoruba land. It's possible because Etruscan elements have not been found in the Sudan. Moreover, Lucas suggests that the absence of similar cultures in the Sudan can be explained by the supposition that immigrants from Egypt would find it hard to settle in the arid desert climate of the Sudan, and that the influence of the Etruscans from Egypt could only be felt permanently in Yoruba land and other parts of West Africa where geographical conditions support a prolonged visit or temporary settlement. Well, we'll get to that because, again, we got to read the Bible, man. When the Bible says what he's going to do to the Babylonians and their land and stuff like that, how he's going to make it an arid desert and stuff like that, we should pay attention, bro. We should pay attention. Is that talking about the Sahara Desert? However, both Frobenius and Lucas did not use any archaeological evidence to prove the inclusion of the exclusion of the Sudan as a possible route to Yoruba land from North Africa or from Egypt. Frobenius' view that all monuments of ancient culture are placed on the coast can also be questioned because important Yoruba places like Ili Ifi and Ofa, where these monuments, Etruscan articles, were found, are about 200 miles away from the coast. Yoruba afterlife culture has more reputable correlations with other afterlife cultures within Africa than those of Etruscan sources. So, there you go for that. Let me give this another pause, and I'm going to get to one more article, and then we'll pick up next time. Okay, so in Biobaku's The Origin of the Yoruba, see, again, I have a lot of people who are saying that that they connect to the Etruscans, but anyway, The Origin of the Yoruba was originally published in 1955 in the period immediately prior to the Nigerian independence and aimed to create a more positive and unifying national history. Biobaku's concern was to prove that Nigerians shared a common association with major developments in the classical world, but they had also subsequently developed their own history on the arrival in West Africa. This allowed Nigeria to be proclaimed a part of world history, but also a nation apart, and indeed within Nigeria. This study allowed the Yoruba to be considered as a district entity. He reviewed existing theories on the origin of the Yoruba, and pointed out all of them agreed that the Yoruba had migrated into their present areas from the Near East. He reasoned that although there is much evidence that the Yoruba indigenous religion incorporated Jewish stories, the fact mainly shows that the Yoruba were subject to Jewish influence rather than they were a Jewish people. So this dude doesn't think that they're Jews, but he thinks that they got associated with Jews. And I'm sure that some of our people got associated with them or infused in them or mixed with them. I'm not denying that at all, because some of their elements seem very, not very, but partly Abrahamic, right? At the very least. He also associated himself with that, with what Frobenius had written on Ifi with regard to the theory of lost Atlantis and Etruscan civilization. Certainly, there were striking points of resemblance between the Yoruba and the Etruscan culture, but the link between the Yoruba and the Etruscan is too tenuous. What was probable was the remnants of Tyrian arts and beliefs filtered through the northeast by way of the Carthaginians, who were closely allied to the Etruscans. Wow! Nah, bro. I'm sorry I got so loud. But there's your proof right there. The Yoruba and the Etruscans, they connect through the Carthaginians. We've already gone over who the Carthaginians were. The Carthaginians were the Edomites. The Etruscans were the Edomites. And the Yoruba are the Edomites. Thus, evidence of Etruscan influences suggests that the Yoruba came from the Near East, where they were subject to those influences. Biobaku. So there you go. Now let's get into this last one, and then we're gonna pick up next time. There's other things I wanted to share, but we'll pick up next time. So this is that from that dude, Frobenius. This is his book that he wrote. It's called The Voice of Africa. This is volume 1. The road on which we started with describing our wanderings and first encounter with the tough spirit of the Yorubans has been till now a long one, and all kinds of pictures so curious of their kind have risen up to the right and to the left of it as to warrant their being once more recalled to our memory. The soul of this people appeals to us as being so originally un-African because of the anonymous consciousness which they show for the common inheritance of their clans, a consciousness lacking in purely African families and possessed only by tribes, or, if so great an idea is permissible in this connection, by peoples doing battle for the preservation of their paternal and national temples, but never in evidence in mere groups of individuals such as these clans. This is not a Negro quality of mind. Well, he's telling the truth. He's pretty much saying that these are not native Africans, pretty much. That they have a little bit more to them. Right? This is what he's saying. Don't get mad at me. Then we saw them educating their posterity on lines well organized and from points of view carefully considered. Not merely from feeling, as is usual with children of nature, but knowing and logically. Then we examined the functions of their statecraft, in which the helm was systematically held in weighty hands of archaic associative institutions and clan representatives, and we particularly noticed that this entire people present a religious, clearly circumscribed, and highly developed organization of society, of which the units are the clans descendant from the highest, namely the Orishas. These, however, are not the tottering, diabolic African grotesques, but well-formed, actual, godlike shapes, reft with legends, hallowed and distinguished by separate rituals, the offspring of the great nature's womb, ruling with well-ordered laws and companionship of their posterity, and ever recreated there in human form. The lordship of these gods, the mighty thunder, clove in the transparent drapery of a sun myth, who, with his double-headed axe and a symbol of a ram, bears so close a likeness to the overlord of northern nations in the dim and legendary past. And I've heard that people say that the Yoruba, their gods are connected to the Norse gods and stuff like that. It's like they go to so many different places, bro. It's so much that I have to stop this video like in 5 minutes because it's too much. And after that, we inquired into their methods of divination and the meaning of their primitive myths, and were surprised here to find an exalted idea of the universe, in which the state and its clan units, the past ages and present times, the dead and the living were combined. It is a system whose equal inconsistency of concept is only paralleled among the famous Etruscans of legendary Rome. The center of this antique templum, within whose frame of the world of gods, 16 in number, is enclosed in habitations suited to their respective powers, finds crystallized expressions in the ancient holy city, the fastness of the sea god, the holy city from whose soil relics of classic beauty, specimens of an older form of art, and proofs of long-lost craftsmanship can be extracted. So there you have it. He's pretty much saying these Yorubas are not like the other African peoples. They're much more developed, according to what he's saying, right? Let me just rate the part of the Etruscans and I'm gonna end the video because my voice is really hurting and it's just too much, bro. It's too much. And it can, moreover, be proved beyond question that this civilization has its cognate expressions. We saw how delicately and sublimely, how carefully cultivated to ripeness, the templum ideal, the notion of the interdependence of the world structure, was among the Yorubans, and only to mention the instance closest to hand, we found its counterpart among the ancient Etruscans. This close correspondence implies the original twin ship. Twin ship? What? That is such... Wow, he went out there and said twin ship. And its assumed correctness is all the more justified because the Yoruban philosophy must have been born and nourished on a pre-Christian primeval foundation, which, considering the discoveries and statements made in, I don't know where that is, must also chronistically and essentially have been coeval with the condition of ancient Etruscan civilization. So this is more things that he's showing. Let me see. I ain't trying to read all this, bro. Let me see. We just talking about the Etruscans. Containing comparatively few elements specifically Phoenician, and which by these had died down, was founded on the ruins of the ancient empire of the West as one of its heirs, among whom were Etruscans, etc. The Phoenicians scarcely anywhere produce values of their own, and the great place they occupy in history is mainly due to their exploration of relations with other nations. Okay. So I'm gonna stop here, guys. I think that's pretty much about it. He's pretty much just going over the different connections with the Etruscans and the Yoruba. So I got a lot more, but I'm gonna leave that for another part. May peace be with you.